France, the month of May usually rhymes with the Cannes Film Festival, but this year it's not taking place. The world's biggest movie extravaganza was supposed to start on May 12th, but it was shut down like other big events around the world because of the coronavirus pandemic. Cannes has only been cancelled once in its history. This was during World War II, and it's been stopped once during the May '68 student uprising. Now, Jeannie Godula has covered the Cannes Film Festival many times, so let's bring her in to talk about this year's cancellation. Jeannie, it's hard to underestimate just what a huge deal this is for the cinema world.
It really is. I mean, Cannes is not just famous as the world's biggest movie festival where global superstars walk up the famous red steps. It's also the biggest movie marketplace in the world where films are sold and distributed. Cannes is also a window into foreign language films that go on to become international hits. You might remember the South Korean film Parasite that won the Oscar for the Best Picture this year. Well, it world premiered in Cannes where it won top honors with the prize the Palme d'Or.
And there was a slight sliver of a chance that the festival was just going to be postponed and not completely canceled, perhaps postponed until later in the summer or in the fall, but that's not going to happen, unfortunately.
No, just one day before the Cannes Film Festival was set to officially open, the festival's director, Thierry Frémaux, gave an interview where he said any kind of physical edition of Cannes 2020 was just not going to happen. There had been some talk of a virtual edition, perhaps, but that also was shot down. What we do know is that in early June, the Cannes Film Festival is going to announce its sélection, or the lineup of the films that would have been screened this year in Cannes.
And do we have any idea what those films might have been?
We do. One of those films is going to be the new animated feature from Pixar called Soul. Another one is from American director Spike Lee. Now, Spike Lee was supposed to be the president of the prestigious Cannes jury this year. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, of course. But what we do know about the films is that they could be screened in movie theaters around France, perhaps this summer, if and when they finally open. Also, Cannes is talking about partnering up with other big festivals around the world, like in Venice or Toronto or in Deauville, to co-present some of these films that didn't get their shot in Cannes.
Cinema isn't the only cultural sector that's been affected by COVID-19. Music, theater, museums, the cultural industry in general has really had the rug pulled out from under it, which is problematic not just for artistic reasons, but also because it represents a crucial part of the French economy.
France's cultural sector certainly is very dynamic and creates a lot of jobs. 675,000 people work in the cultural industry, and when you add it all up, cultural activity brings in over 91 billion euros in revenue each year, representing 2.3% of French GDP. That's more than the prized automobile and luxury sectors.
There's a lot of uncertainty about just what's going to happen to the French cultural industry. For example, it's still not sure when things like museums, theaters, concert halls are even going to be able to be open with all of the social distancing.
Not to mention that so many festivals have been canceled as well, like the famous theater festival, the Avignon Theater Festival, as well as France's biggest music festival, Les Vieilles Charrues, Hellfest, Solidays, Rock en Seine here in Paris. The list goes on. And for French musicians, it's a tricky situation. Many of them have had to cancel tours and concerts, sometimes for the foreseeable future. And I spoke about this with the French electronic musician Fakir. This was when he was still confined in his apartment in Paris.
I think the government must do something to save all the little festivals and all the little technicians who are losing the job because of the virus. And I think, I don't know, I think the biggest festival will recover somehow, but all the little ones are the one we wanted to save.
Many artists have been calling on the government to come to the rescue. Earlier during the lockdown, several hundred people signed an open letter, including French film icons like Catherine Deneuve, Isabelle Huppert, Luc Besson. They said that culture had been forgotten or abandoned during confinement, and saying how ironic it was because during that time, so many people at home were reading books, watching movies, listening to music. In the midst of all this fierce criticism, President Emmanuel Macron has come up with a culture plan that he presented on video conference. Flo, tell us a bit more about what's in that exactly.
Well, Macron essentially promised that the government was not going to abandon the industry, and he actually called on artists to ride the coronavirus tiger. That's what he said. Now, he also made a series of pledges, including a large program of essentially public commissions, especially for young artists younger than 30 years old. And he also said he wanted to set up a special compensation fund for festivals and film shoots that had to be canceled.
President Macron also said that he'd heard the call from what are known here as intermittents de spectacle, those temporary entertainment and showbiz workers in France.
So, intermittents du spectacle, which include a whole variety of artists like directors, actors, musicians, technicians, well, they benefit from a very specific unemployment benefit fund that essentially pays them when they're not working. But to qualify for this special fund, you have to clock in a certain number of hours, which they simply cannot do right now because all these cultural activities and festivals, etc., have been canceled. So Macron essentially said that this special unemployment benefit fund would be extended until the end of August 2021. So essentially, he's preserving their livelihood right now, but of course, many people say that it could take several years before France's prized cultural industry bounces back completely.
Your needs are changing, and so is France24.com. With articles, reports, the latest international news, all our programmes available on replay, together with live broadcasting 24/7. Intuitive, fast, and available in 4 languages. France24.com. Liberté, égalité, actualité.